Hello, and it is the 7th of January 2020. What an incredible thing to say. I've always wanted to say that. It feels like we're in the future already. Welcome to another Tea Time with Meoni. I have my cup of tea here, as we always have in these videos, where I get to sit down with you guys and talk to you as if you were in the same room as me about some topics to do with Final Fantasy XIV, usually some greater things to do with the channel, and a bit of a chit-chat as well. So first of all, I'd like to, obviously wish you all a happy new year. I know it's a little bit late to say that, but I have been a bit relaxed recently. We're coming back to the channel slowly. I've decided to make a small, slow return to the channel and then build up some speed towards video production. If I come back at 2020 all guns blazing, then I'll run out of ammunition pretty quickly, if you know what I mean, and probably burn out a little bit. It's been nice to relax and do very little over the past couple of weeks, but it's time to start getting back into gear because 2020 is definitely going to be exciting for many different reasons that we'll talk about in this video. So I hope you all really enjoyed your holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. Regardless, I hope you had some time spent with your family and friends. And yeah, let's work towards another year of positivity and hopefully some creativity as well. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is what 2020 can bring gaming in general. We've already seen talks about, lots of new games coming out. I would be interested in the comment section of this video to talk about what you're really looking forward to this year and what you're dreading personally, those sorts of things. And I guess the New Year's sort of resolution that, we kind of want to approach as a community. So first of all, I have to say I really want to continue with our community-based events. A lot of people have been asking how you actually find me in the game. I play on Chaos Data Center on the Ragnarok server on European servers, and my character's name is Meoni Whitetail, as you've probably seen in all of these videos before. We do have a cross-world link shell for both the 777 Whiskers, which is what I call my following. I also have a Discord server where we reserve some of the ranks there and some of the channels for our Patreon members, but we also have a general sort of open community as well. I'll link this sort of stuff in the description of the video if you want to check it out. But on top of that, we also have a fellowship on Chaos Data Center. Fellowships are a little bit sort of primitive at the moment. They don't kind of work. You have to keep relisting them each week. So the majority of you might have tried to search for it. It's called Meoni's Fellowship of Awesomeness, which is great. It doesn't have a chat function. It kind of just has like a bulletin board where you can post a message, and then it also has like a poll system, and I can kind of post messages to you, but there's no way of announcing things through it yet. It's still early days. That technology has a long way to go before it's like usable by people in general. A lot of the hunt groups at the minute are resorting to having to use Discord servers. It would be nice to see all of that sort of information and communication back into the game again, back when hunt groups used to sort of socialize and organize their hunts before the cross data center play via the actual in-game link shell systems. But apart from that, 2020 is going to be quite exciting technologically. We have the next generation Xbox and PlayStation 5. We should be seeing more news about those next generation consoles, and indeed Final Fantasy XIV will no doubt be making the jump to them. I mean, obviously there's nothing confirmed at now, but it's kind of an obvious thing that they're going to move to those new platforms like they did with PS3. So it's racing along, and we have lots of new games to keep us busy for as well. We don't have dates announced for the next FanFest, but there's lots of rumors floating around that the Japanese one could be first this time around, sometime in October. An interesting rumor to say the least, because a lot of that sort of like first reveal information will be in Japanese, if that is true, which will be the first time we've seen that. So it might take a bit of the experience away in terms of, there being live translation, but it might take a bit of that away. So we'll have to wait and see with those dates. But if Japan is first, that could be a completely different experience for sure, because by the time it comes to the North American and European FanFest, we might already know what the next expansion is going to be, which, yeah, I'm sure it'll still be exciting regardless. I'm definitely looking forward to the next FanFest. I would love to go to the next European one. I'm trying to schedule it better this year, so as soon as we get those dates, I can give that a go ahead, and I'd love to meet you all there. So apart from that, like I say, we have some great games coming out this year. March on its own features Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I know some of you are kind of on the fence about. The original game is fantastic. There have been so many, re-releases of that, the remasters or what have you on the various consoles we have today, but it's going to be really nice, I think, and quite relaxing to sit down with a new take on that concept. That's the way I'm seeing it, as in it's just an addition to the experience we already have rather than a replacement, and I think a lot of people would benefit from that sort of insight rather than just going, oh no, they have to include this feature, oh no, they need to include that feature from 7 because it was there and it was my favorite. They're doing a lot of fan service over at Square Enix, and I can only imagine that a lot of time and money has gone into making it as thorough of an experience as possible for all different walks of life. Bear in mind, however, there has been a significant change in how the game industry sort of works in terms of the sort of gameplay, what's acceptable, what's less acceptable these days. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of things get omitted. There's a lot of concept of making the playable experience a lot more refined and polished, what necessary grinding situations are in terms of experience for leveling, etc. Because 7 was quite, in places quite a grind heavy game, which was great. I personally love that, but I would imagine for the streamlining of storyline purposes and the still episodic nature of a lot of that storyline, it'll be interesting to see how much of that is actually possible, because obviously we do have, at the end of the day, if it is anything like the original Final Fantasy VII, you could get extremely powerful at the end of the first disc before getting to the second. Well, how is that concept going to work in an episodic game? So there's lots of interesting questions, and a lot of people that I have talked to that have had hands-on demos and have played it at various events, including some of my close friends, have all said that it actually feels like a really polished and fun experience, but for the most part something new and original. There isn't so much Final Fantasy VII immediately. There are hints and sort of like the scent, the experience of it, the nostalgia, but perhaps sort of repackaged into something better and, potentially better at least. So, it'll be interesting to see regardless. So I'm pretty hyped for that. We also have Animal Crossing, which a bit of a tangent, but another big game that I'm looking forward to. I do love Animal Crossing on the Switch. That's going to be fun. The Switch in general is going to probably see a lot more RPGs. I love the Square Enix RPGs, as you probably already know from my top 10 list that I had of 2019. I think the majority of them were Square Enix RPGs, so I'll be interested to see what they come out with, what the next sort of Octopath Traveler sort of route's going to be. I'm always excited for that sort of stuff. So yeah, 2020, exciting times, and obviously we have stuff like Cyberpunk as well. I mean, I don't know how many of you are hyped for that, but that game has a lot of hype behind it. Obviously, there's no way that it can fulfill on that hype. I'm that sort of skeptical mind at the minute. I think it's going to be an exceptional game. I just don't know how it can possibly fulfill all of that hype. And but it's CD Projekt Red, which is a big thing in itself. I really, really am looking forward to that in a big way. So there's lots of things to make videos on this year, and that's part of my sort of New Year's resolution as well. More community events, more interaction with you guys as much as physically possible, but also playing some other games as well. So I'd like to branch out, sort of try new things out. I dipped my toe into it last year, but didn't really sort of put any weight behind it. I think it's about time that I started making some, not let's plays, but little highlight reels of me just enjoying games. I think a lot of you enjoyed it when I did the Untitled Goose Game, and I'd obviously like to do more on that. There's lots of games I got for Christmas as well, so yeah, exciting times. So let's move on to another topic, and this one's something that I wanted to talk about, wanted to get off my chest, mostly all today and yesterday. So yesterday I made a video all about how the item level cheese is affecting the game. So this wasn't really like a super negative video or anything. This was just a bit of a social commentary on how the game sort of deals with randomness and the roulette system in general. And a lot of people sort of miss the point of that, I believe. of the point of the video. Me not necessarily demonizing, unequipping gear to cheese dungeons, more of the fact that this is an option that obviously seems to have some weight behind it, and Square Enix have not really paid much attention to that, have no real solution for that publicly, at least from what they've talked about, and also seem to also add to that in terms of the frontline changes. A lot of people took a lot of time to write comments saying I was completely wrong, that frontline roulette isn't a roulette anymore, this is a daily challenge, which, I should know because it was redesigned. That's kind of defeating the point. What I'm trying to say is they're taking away the freedom of, trying out all of these things. Originally, the roulette system and those challenges were supposed to have that aspect of variety. There's hundreds of different dungeons, and indeed, when it comes to PvP as well, which was my other point, there's lots of other instances. We've got Rival Wings, which relies on an external community Discord to actually take part in properly if you want to go and farm for your mounts, because queuing for it randomly just doesn't pop results anymore. We have stuff like Shatter and Siege, which have been left behind because they have predominantly featured Onshal Hakir, which is the new frontline mode, as the only option for their daily challenge, as we're going to call it, which used to be the frontline roulette. So in many ways, they've taken a lot of choice away from us and haven't really provided us with a solution for queuing for a lot of those things that not many people queue for. The entire reason that main scenario roulette exists is to help other people through that content. The reason they stripped the ability to skip cutscenes in those dungeons was predominantly to help those newcomers to the game actually get some semblance of the plot instead of being rushed through it, which sort of still happens anyway. It's just they have like cutscenes back to back to watch whilst other people know where they're going. But at the same time, the entire idea behind that roulette was to give people faster queue times to actually get through that content, but also to give a reward for people to go back and help them in content that doesn't get queued for frequently, such as, if we didn't have any rewards for the MSQ roulette, is anybody actually going to actively queue for Castrum Praetorium just to help out random people in the Duty Finder? I think not. The experience is an amazing reward. The rewards are fantastic in general, and it's a really good system. When we come to the Alliance Roulette system, it's amazing because we have so many different Alliance raids. It just feels a little bit unfortunate that this item level cheese situation where you unequip gear to essentially knock your item level down to 70 or 80 just to get into Circus Tower or Labyrinth of the Ancients is limiting the variety of the rest of the roulette. It's confusing to me that this is something that we are socially accepting of and that there's no direct solution to this from Square Enix. And that was the entire point of that video. What wasn't the point of the video was to basically comment against me in the comment section and say, well, oh, how can I take this seriously from somebody who doesn't know this combo with Paladin? Or, oh, I can't wait to be part of your Pro League and Alliance raids. Oh, and all this. They're making a big deal over something. It's the fact that they're overly defensive over something that we all love. In many regards, that's more negative to the game than anything I could ever say about it in a video, especially for like 8 minutes. In respect to defending a game to the point of you're blue in the face, it gets quite scary. This community has seen quite a flip. I'm talking about the general 14 community here, not you guys watching. But for the most part, people have flipped from being sort of skeptical and critical of the game and actually allowing feedback to sort of flow through the game to make it better and tell the developers what we like and dislike, to being very focused on defending every aspect of it. It is the ultimate MMORPG. There are no flaws, which is completely crap, as you know, if you've played for any length of time. That they so easily jump to defend. Oh, well, you obviously just didn't read this. Oh, you obviously didn't explore. Oh, you obviously didn't do all this. Or how can I take you seriously when you're not playing this class that's a complete alt that you're leveling because the experience is greater for this particular time? All you're doing is basically showing yourselves up. To me, I just sort of go, well, he's being a complete potato. A lot of people in the game, if you say, oh, you're not allowed an opinion on anything because of the gameplay in the background. Since when have we been focused on subverting the points in front of us to just simply defend the game based on how bad someone is at a certain aspect of it? I'm terrible at PvP, and I've not played half of the classes in this game as much as I would love to, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't be entitled to an opinion like you guys are on certain aspects of the game and have a constructive discussion on that. But that's just my, sort of 10 cents on that, if you want to call it that. I think that for the most part, people have sort of twisted a little bit. They've become way more defensive over the product, Final Fantasy XIV than they ever used to be. And anyone who constructively approaches this game now just gets shot down immediately. I mean, just look at Brian from Work to Game. A lot of the videos that they make, there are sort of different aspects, whether or not you think that's clickbait, or whether you think you're enticed into watching something and then being misled, or whatever it is, or if you disagree with an opinion, he gets shot down. Him and Chris, they work, to put these videos out, but at the same time, a lot of their content is opinionated, which for some reason people take personally, like, oh, this person absolutely hates Final Fantasy XIV. They cannot possibly have an opinion. They cannot represent that game because they are performing badly in this content or whatever. Or, I disagree with them entirely because they have this opinion on trusts or whatever. I find that really quite worrying that we're in this sort of day and age for Final Fantasy XIV where we're defending the game to the point of oblivion. All we have to do is look sideways to World of Warcraft and see what that did for that community and that game's development in general. You can sort of complain and threaten and moan about Blizzard Entertainment or Activision or whoever you want. At the end of the day, the community is what makes the game, and the community is also what drives the game down into the ground as well. There's a lot of situations sort of just across the game industry where player feedback has been taken, as gospel. There's not been enough people on the forums to outweigh some of those opinions. A lot of the people who comment on YouTube videos negatively about someone's playstyle are the same people who will be complaining about a change that happens in the game itself, but won't have actually gone to the forums to share their own opinions and, on those developer feedback threads or anything like that. They just pretend that their opinions and ideas are going to get listened to when they don't actually write them down. So if you are one of those people, seriously think twice about posting something without realizing the impact it has, because ultimately, unless you post it to the right people and constructively sort of analyze the situation, then I don't think anyone's going to take anybody seriously. And, ultimately that's resulted in certain aspects of a game being developed and some of them being underdeveloped, especially when we look at certain systems in the last couple of years to do with Final Fantasy XIV. So hopefully people will give feedback on the new content coming in February, and will say what they like or dislike, whether they like the new relic system. Whether they're going to be constructive about that is another question entirely. But yeah, this was my point anyway, that people should probably lay off a little bit, maybe constructively analyze the actual points posed in a video from anybody on YouTube who actually wants to contribute to this. At the end of the day, we all love the game as much as you guys. We all play it every single day. So, it's adding to the game. It's not taking away. We're not being negative. We don't want the game to burn up and just dry up and die with a lack of content that's good. We want to see it flourish, and the only way to do that is to constructively analyze and criticize the things before us. Because as soon as we start accepting everything is as soon as that cash shop goes pay to win, for example. And as soon as that happens, then you'll start complaining for sure. Either way, that was my tea time this time, a little bit more opinionated than usual. You'll probably disagree with a lot of the points I've stated, but for the most part, I just wanted to bring in the new year, sort of tell you how the channel's going, and also talk about a few things and get them off my chest. So hopefully this has been interesting to listen to, and hopefully you've had a good start to your new year. I wish you all the best, and I'll speak to you all next time.